What's going on, everyone? It is definitely one of those interesting nights. I actually stayed up pretty late. I laid down around 2:30, and it's 2:43. I found myself not being able to go to sleep, and I was just trying to process just this obsession that I have developed to just become massively successful doing the things that I enjoy doing. And it just comes down to what I enjoy doing is being of service, having freedom and flexibility to work from home, work from my laptop, work from my phone, and be able to still hang out with my boys and go on date nights with my wife. And I was just processing everything that I am building under the Majoravation umbrella. It's it's a it's a testament to how I was raised, growing up in the church, giving back and just pouring into people. And then oddly, I was laying in bed just now, and I'm hearing the breathing of my wife, and my youngest son is in the bed with us as well. And I just started hearing their breaths as they're breathing, and it was soothing. But at the same time, that triggered a question that I would ask myself at that moment, like from going from a gubernatorial election to feeling like you had zero support from those in your inner circle and people actively working to destroy your character within and outside of your campaign. How do you still come full circle and be at the point where you're still trying to pour into people? And so I had to process that, because there was a period of time where I felt like, I felt like the world was against me, or conspiring against me. And there were elements of that existed that was very real. But the true acknowledgement is that an even bigger barrier and weight was created by myself. And I talk about this often in regards to invisible barriers. Sometimes we create invisible barriers, and I'm a person who does not believe fear is real, but going through certain situations and circumstances and not being able to respond can psychologically bother you. What do I mean by that? I'm not used to being disrespected. I've been a good guy my entire life in regards to the circles I've been a part of, the partnerships I've had, the relationships and friendships that I have had. It's never been to the point, I've never presented myself to be in a predicament where I'm on the receiving end of being disrespected. Being in politics, it is a different, strange aura where it's hyper aggressive verbally. And it reminds me of a guy that's in the gym, and you know that this person is either mental, or you know that they're weak physically. Like, you know, you can break them in half. You know that you can punish them. But you show that you give them that grace. And in politics, people talk to you so crazy, and then they tell you this is what you signed up for. And I'm not in agreement with that. And so to be attacked, and people coming to your home, and people running up on you with their phones on while you're with your family, and seemingly smiling and joking as if it's an okay thing. You know, in my mind, I'm just thinking about these people should be punished. Like, I instantly go there because I come from a very aggressive background in regards to there's consequences. I seen something by Idi Amin. It was a very interesting quote. And he said, yes, there is freedom of speech, but there is consequences after your speech, something of that magnitude. And I think a lot of people, because of social media, have forgotten that. Like, commenting, they don't believe there's any consequence because they can hide behind a digital wall. So I'm saying that all to say, that's neither here nor there. I feel nothing at all about that. I just want to bring some context to myself and just to the story that I'm sharing right now. So going through all of that and having to bounce back, losing millions of dollars in partnerships and opportunities, and couldn't, get situations with jobs and, different organizations I wanted to work with, it didn't pan out. And then you look at how my spirit it evolved during that time, because I just went inward. I've always been a person. There's three types of people when you come against something that's difficult. Either you run and hide, play victim, or you get frozen, you get stuck, or you become the third person, which is a leader, a problem solver, a critical thinker, and you think your way through it. And I think it's more so possible if you are a person of faith. When you have faith, the pieces start to fall together. Your confidence starts to align with your beliefs and purpose, and then the universe just kind of opens up and conforms to what it is that you're manifesting. But prayer without work is dead, is what I do know and what I do understand. And so the question comes back to, why am I, building a company to help others, when initially I feel like others didn't help me? I feel like I was helped a lot. And that's what I came up to the conclusion with. I'm extremely grateful. I was talking about a story earlier today on my Instagram about, I was laying on the floor in my office in the studio, and I had this little ball just kind of putting pressure on my back because I kind of injured my back and hip playing ball. And I was laying on the floor, and I remember, I had a memory of living in a small house in South Dallas. It's pretty run down, no heat, no air, no carpet on the floor. It's just wood that you can walk on and get splinters in your foot. And me and my sister would have to sleep on that floor in one of the rooms. It was 2 bedrooms. And because we had no lights, the lights were off, Mom couldn't afford the lights. We had a candle lit. I never forget this. We had a candle lit. And the candle served 2 purposes. One of them is to have some light in the room that we were sleeping in. My mom wasn't at home. And then also the candle, the second purpose was as a heater. And we had one big sheet, and we turned the sheet into a taco. So we laid the sheet down. I would lay here, my sister would lay there, and we would just fold the covers over us. It was one thin sheet. And laying on the floor, I thought about that. And then I looked up at my environment that I'm in present day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I have an amazing wife, have amazing healthy sons that are intelligent, that are well-mannered, have a beautiful home. We get lost. We have to yell super loud because someone's on the other side of the house or upstairs or in the backyard on the premises. And I was just like, man, just go in my closet. I'm not like a big extravagant person, but to have more than 2 pair of jeans, to have more than 2 pair of sneakers that are nice and brand new at one time, to looking at the entire spread that I have, to be able to open up the refrigerator and there's food in the refrigerator, I mean, that is, to me, that's wealthy. That's like, I'm grateful. And so I think whatever has caused me to stay up tonight or even do this video, which I never do these types of videos, is to just really openly document my commitment to building a major vacation company to be to turn into something that really inspires people, that wakes people up, that ignites the fire in people's belly to be more purposeful, be more intentional, to be more healthier, to be more courteous, to be more disciplined, to be more courageous, and build a mindset of warriors, build a mindset of majorators that are going out into the world, not only being the best versions of themselves, but also being stewards and servicemen and women of other individuals, bringing them into the fold and sharing that philosophy with them. I just think it's a full circle moment. And like I said, I don't know what it was that made me start mapping all these things out to get me to the point now where I'm doing this video. But I'm just really obsessed with being extremely successful. I'm obsessed with being extremely of service to those that need that extra guidance, that may need to hear a story like this that's comparable to their story, and we get that nod of approval, like it's okay, you can make it through this, you know, I believe in you. And now that you have been equipped with a newfound sense of confidence, a sense of purpose, you can go and plant seeds and sow seeds in other areas, in other people. But yeah, I just think it's one of those moments where, you know, this is not planned. And I'm just excited. I'm just grateful, you know, at the end of the day, for all the blessings that God has blessed me with, for the exact family, for the exact hardships, for the exact drama, the exact trauma, the exact happiness, the exact memories and moments that have fine-tuned who I am at this current moment, still evolving and growing. I'm in this new phase of just really building a personal brand. I really love the aspect of that understanding of the personal brand is going to drive so much more. So second chapter after politics, building a personal brand and doing so many things online and selling digital products and really diving deep into understanding social media and the mechanisms of it and building websites and automational tools that is helping bridge the conversation of building a community of majorators. It's been nothing short of phenomenal, you know, to see where my mind was and where it has evolved into. And I guess that brings me to, like, if you really want something, you have to work at it. I've been obsessed, with learning to add value. I've been obsessed with learning how to sell online. I've been obsessed with pouring into other people so they can adopt some of the philosophies that has helped me do as well as I've done very early on with online sales and things I'm doing with building a brand and social media. And I think I want to close with this. I don't know if anyone's going to watch all the way to the end. Communication is the new currency of the world. It's like oil. The reason why I have taken that approach, that niche, is because I truly do understand the climate that we're living in with the rise of AI and tech and everything. AI cannot replace the human connection. They will have replicas of every single thing that we do, but they can't replace the human story the human personality, the humanity element that we are um, blessed with in the creation of God. And I believe that the next wave of multi-millionaires are going to be the ones that are very intentional about mastering words, mastering communication, mastering storytelling. Sales and marketing all goes together, but communication is going to be the thing, because you can take one product, two pitches, the one who pitches with the greatest story attached to it will be the one who gets the most exposure, the most acknowledgement, and also the most sales. And I guess I will wrap that up in regards to why I've chosen the USE framework, which is unlocking your story, shifting your mindset, because it does take that, and executing your strategy every single day. The book Use Everybody is the foundational introduction to understanding how important it is to work on new skill sets such as communication, because if you do that, and if you do it now, over the next 2 to 3 years, you will have the opportunity to be a part of the next wave of multi-millionaires, because you understand a simple fact. Most people, even some with influence, do not know how to tell a great story. They don't know how to network. They don't know how to cultivate relationships, and they don't intentionally work and learn psychology. The reason why so many people are triggered is because they don't even understand their own emotions. And it's hard to understand it just trying to figure it out on your own. Sometimes you have to be intentional about going and getting the information and studying it, ingesting it in a way to where it clicks and it understands that in these certain environments, I have to be stoic. When certain things happen, I cannot panic. I have to figure out what can I control. That is my biggest thing I teach to my sons. My son is playing football. He's like, I'm starting late. Everyone else was training in the summer. I just started at the beginning of the school. What can I do? And I said, let's assess what's happening in your environment. So I would go to his practices and I would see that he was standing all the way behind the other players, talking to a few straggler players that maybe don't play or get into practice. So you're hanging with that group. And so if you're hanging with that group and this is who they are, you are perceived as one of those type of individuals. And so I challenged him. I said, start hanging around who you see are making all the touchdowns. They're getting the ball and getting to the game. Follow them throughout the whole practice, even on game days when you're not playing. Follow them and stay around coaches. Another thing I said, I asked him, I said, what are your coaches' names? And he couldn't tell me all the coaches' name. I see, that's your disadvantage. I'm going to give you an advantage right now. You should know every coach's name. You should also ask questions, even if it's a question that you don't even care about the answer. But what that does is when you are new to in an environment, you have to build familiarity and trust through story, through connections, through memories, through moments. And so when you go up to Coach so-and-so, you call him by name and you ask him, like, what was your favorite position in college? Psychologically, I understand people enjoy talking about themselves. That's why I created my podcast, the Majoration Podcast. But in allowing them and them allowing me to ask them questions and them sharing, I learned so much and my audience learned so much. So it's a win-win type of situation. So when you're doing that, as I'm telling my son, it's like you're showing that you are interested. You're showing that that you care, and you are open to being educated, and you're coachable. Fast forward, he started doing that. Most recently, he got into his first game. It was hysterical because he told me when I got on the field, my heart was pumping. I was crazy. The coach yelled at me because I lined up a little off the line. He's a receiver, and he told me to back up. And all those things, I was just laughing, but embracing him at the same time. And I was like, okay, let's break it down. Okay, this is what you do. This is what you should already know. But since that's over with, you've been reprimanded, let's make sure you know this and it doesn't happen again. And so all those things can be applied in any industry and in life. People in this day and age, you can't afford to be shy. You can't really afford to be an introvert. And if you are, you have to be really great at video. You have to be great at social media or some type of something that connects people, because ultimately it's not always what you say. It's about how you make people feel. How you make people feel is so important. And I think it's a lost art. And I believe that the more and more people that pay attention to that and take real interest in that, they're going to really understand how to utilize and leverage that with any industry and become successful. And I think ultimately that's why I created the Majoration Company, to make sure I highlight that and give people the understanding of how important it is to use everybody. Use everybody is a concept that I knew that would raise people's eyebrows, but I also knew it would be something that could get people's attention. It reminds me of the movie Will Ferrell, when it was like, the guy was like, what does it mean? He's like, I don't know what it means, but I just know it really gets the people going. And it's the most hysterical line ever, but it's the truth. And I did that from a psychological marketing perspective. And so now I've created an entire community with the understanding of shifting their mindset and acknowledging that use everybody is not a negative connotation if you're not doing it maliciously. If there's a mutual benefit, and if there's a service that you're providing and you're bridging the gap between information and opportunity, then essentially it's a good thing. We have miscategorized that phrase in itself. We use everybody, but we call it partnerships, we call it family, we call it resources, we call it whatever it is, but we use each other all the time. And it's okay to allow people to use us as well as a resource, as a contact, as an ally. And so I want to usher that in and bring a whole movement around being a majorator, and also being someone who is actively and openly saying, I want to use you, but I also want to allow people to use me as well. All right, hope that makes sense, guys. I just wanted to share a quick story. I had to get that off my brain. I don't know, I couldn't sleep. I just wanted to get on here and share. Who knows if I post this or not, but it was just good to just kind of vent. All right, stay motivated. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.